It's the 30th of November 2025, and this is a special interest video, but it has connotations, if I could use that word, for other things and quality and buying Irish. Now, in the workshop, particularly where you have precision engineering equipment like a lathe and attachments for it, you need reliable quality steel. You need reliable quality brass and copper, depending on what you're using. Your silver solder and your brazing must be the correct type, and you must be sure of it, because you go to work up a job, maybe you take a stormy Sunday evening like this, and now we have a few hours and we don't have to watch the telly in the house and can get out into a little bit of a little haven of our own. Men or women that enjoy mechanical engineering have a great gift, because they'll never be bored. Now the thing about it is, when you buy when you get steel, you can get it from a number of sources. One source is from old machinery, which I did videos on. For most of my work, the axles out of old Morris Minors and Mini Minor cars and old Ford tractors and that sort of stuff are really good, and I find them really good. They're hardened on the outside, like an axle of a tractor will be hard on the outside and softer on the inside. Not necessarily a big problem, but nowadays we tend to go for better types of steel, and of those I did videos before. There's ordinary mild steel, standard mild steel. So this is farm store mild steel. It's hot rolled steel. It'll usually have a little bit of a what would you call it, a scale on it, a carbon scale on the outside, and you can use it for anything depending on circumstances. Very good for handles and stuff, and it's EN1 would be its normal designation in the EN scale. Now the EN standard is the English standard, and it's superseded by new standards which give the chemical composition of the steel, or the makeup of it, of the steel. But they still approximate to the original EN. EN's very good. Now there's also the American Automobile Association, which is good, and there's the DIN is the German one. So they're all grand, all good. But the EN is good enough, because you can't be going around with all these different standards. So this is EN1. Now then you can get ENA leaded. You can get it leaded. There's a little bit of lead in it, and I think an awful lot of things are made of leaded steel. An awful lot of replica items and that, and engines and stuff are made out of leaded steel. It's very easy to machine. It's free from hard spots. It'll rust quick enough, and it's very, very hard to weld and hard to solder. But this is the standard EN steel, so that's all right. But that's not suitable for making tools. Now the next thing then you have, this is a piece of brass here, see? So there's certain things you might need discs for, and that's brass. And brass usually has that kind of a pattern around it, like a snake winding around it pattern. So that's expensive stuff enough. You'll always pick up a bit of it. You'll sometimes pick it up in Variety Mart, or if you go to some of the engineering shops, if you're manually, you never know what you'll spot. If you get the staff at the right moment, there'll usually be a bucket or an old box full of stuff, and you'll pick up pieces. You still buy it, but it means they don't have to cut for you. This is another type of steel. It's classified a mild steel. It's chrome plated. It's for rams. Now, funny enough to say that it's soft steel, although if you go to machine that, it's not too easy. There's a hard chromium on the outside, but when you go into it, it's not very suitable for making components. I rarely use it because there's too much difficulty with it. Although they say it's mild steel that's in it. Anyway, we don't have to worry about it. Now, it's a nice source of stuff if you needed precise rod. They'd make lovely bedways if you were making a small lathe. make a good enough bed width. They're quite accurate. So that's something, and you could machine it reasonably well. Now the other thing you have is you have high-speed steel. So these types of taps, that tap is high-speed steel. Now high-speed steel is heat treated, but it's have a certain chemical composition that it has to be brought to a temperature of roughly 2100 degrees centigrade. That is an extreme heat which you won't do in most workshops. A big oxyacetylene torch, a cutting torch, oxyacetylene, not oxypropane, will get it up. But you're into all kinds of problems, and you need proper furnaces with temperature control to deal with high-speed steel. I don't think hardly any engineer bothers, or any model engineer bothers with it. But it's great steel. We use it in all our parts. Like, for example, that milling cutter there is that's high-speed steel. It's wonderful stuff. It really is. But you grind it. It grinds well, but you don't really machine it as such. So right, that's high-speed steel. Then nowadays, for a wee bit more modern, you go for, there's two other common steel. There's EN8, which is very like an old type steel. In fact, I'd nearly go as far as to say that the EN8 and its other equivalents is the same steel as was in old car axles. It hardens and treats good, and for most purposes is a very, very good steel. Not easy got nowadays, but you can get it on special order, and I might be ordering some with EN8. You'll know these by cutting a sliver with the angle grinder with your protection on your eyes, and then heat treating it with your torch, or you're in a forge or whatever, and you'll know then when you quench it in what do you call it, in salty water, brine they call that, give it a bit of a stir around, you'll get it hard, and then you'll know when you're on the file. You'll soon know if it's hard. The file will glance off it. It'll scratch glass. Now EN8 is a kind of a form of tool steel, but it has particular mechanical properties. And then there is tool steel, also known as cast steel. And cast steel was the whole goal long ago. And so it has a carbon content that enables it to be hardened and tempered at an ordinary temperature. It'll give the temperature, could be up to around 700, 800, maybe 900 degrees, depending on the steel. Now traditionally this boring bar, that's bought at a variety mart, the work was put into making that. I mean, that I got that for about €4. That is a fantastic boring bar. I think it's high-speed steel. I must cut a bit of it, but traditionally it'd be tool steel. It'd be made of good tool steel, the very best of tool steel. And so it can only be ground into shape. You don't heat treat it. So that's tool steel. And that contains carbon roughly about 1.1%. That's the ideal amount for hardening and tempering. And in olden times it was like EN8, and in olden times it didn't have many other elements. It had sulfur and a little manganese. But in recent years you have alloy steel, and they fall into two categories. One is EN19. Now EN19 comes. It's a hardenable steel. It's a carbon steel, but it contains, they call it molybdenum or molybdenum, contains, I think they call it molybdenum in America, and I think they call it molybdenum here. It's a hard word to pronounce, but I do call it molybdenum. Simple enough among our own people anyway. Now, so you have it, that's molybdenum, and you have nickel, and you have chromium in various amounts. So you only need them in very tiny amounts, but the molybdenum has the effect of bringing the cold in. If you get a thick, we say this is a piece of steel, and you get say this is steel now, and you heat that all the way, you have a big problem getting the heat in here. It'll heat out here, but getting it to heat in here to the degree, 900 degrees, whatever you're looking for, is not easy. Takes a lot of time. And then when you have it in and it's hot and you dunk it into the whatever medium you're cooling it, whether it be oil or brine, that's water with salt in it, you dunk it in. The problem is the cold can't get in here. This is too slow cooling. The result is you get a cold outer core, a hard outer core, in about that far. And then in here, you don't. You really can't heat treat tool steel of that thickness because you can't get the temperature change fast enough. And because of that, these other elements that are in EN19 and EN24 help to bring this in. So you could actually, and they can do it, heat treat it right the way in. And with EN19, you can heat it all, they can make it hardened and tempered all the way in with the equipment they have in the manufacturer. Now, what they do with EN19 is they harden it and they temper it. They harden it and they temper it. Sorry, my nose is itchy. They harden it and they temper it. And you can machine it quite good. Not as easy as ordinary steel. Now here is a ring that I was making for something, and that's EN19. You see, you don't have to touch it. It's hardened, tempered and stress relieved, partly anyway, in the factory. So you make what you make and it's done. You're over and done with. You understand? Now you can, in some circumstances, harden and heat treat it if you want to, but it kind of misses the point. So EN19 is the go-to steel now for a lot of jobs, an awful lot of jobs in the precision engineering side of things. You don't have to heat treat it after, and it can be drilled and work good. Not as easy drilled as mild steel, but not bad, not bad. So I would use a bit of it. You can get it from special order. Impact Steel in Dublin sell it, but they normally won't sell small amounts. So you go to Morris Moffat in Monaghan or somewhere else that'll get it for you. Impacts, I think they're on the go in Dublin yet, will tell you. So that's EN19. And it's of a known quality. It's a tough steel. It has tough qualities. Now, I'd say the arms on a tractor, you know, the arms, the hydraulic arms on a tractor, I mean, the steel in them is something else. That has to be the toughest steel you ever come across. And some of that steel was made in Czechoslovakia and was also had an agent in it that you couldn't really cut it. If you tried to cut it, it'd get tough. And that was known as prison steel, which you believe some of the boys would be trying to file their way out, it'd get tough. It won't withstand the gas bottles. It certainly won't withstand oxyacetylene, and I don't think it'll withstand oxypropane either. There's nothing will withstand that. But the EN19 is a very good steel, and it comes in various sizes. Now, usually, I think it's 1 inch and 2 inches. I think it's 2.5. Anyway, you very often have to do a lot of machining on it. If you want a narrow piece, you have to machine it out. They supply it in big sizes, and that's just the way it is. Now, I think it all comes in this part of the world from West Yorkshire Steel is one of the main suppliers to Ireland. I think I'm saying that, and I'm not so sure. So that's EN19, and it's a heat treated steel. It's heat treatable, and the chemical composition of it is such, and the mechanical properties, that the heating and cooling can get away into it deep. So they can supply it maybe in a 3-inch piece, and it's heat treated the whole way through. You see, because of the mechanical properties, that it's very hard to do that with EN8 steel, for example. Now, the other very popular steel in Ireland is EN24. Now, remember again, EN19, you can get it in various types, but they really won't supply it to you in any other form than EN19T, because that's just the way it is. They don't have time to be splitting it up and getting it all mixed up, so you're stuck with it. But it's good. It's right. It's machinable stuff, and if you make anything out of it, it'll withstand a lot of impact. It's a tough, hard steel. Now, the next thing then is, and it's weldable, I believe. I never welded it. The next thing is that EN24 is very, very close in mechanical properties and chemical composition to EN19. There's slightly different things in it. I wouldn't worry about too much. It's slightly different steel. Now, it comes annealed. It's soft in most cases, although for a digger bucket, you know the pins in digger buckets and that, some of them are heat treated. So it depends on what you order and what it is. I'm saying it comes soft. You just need to get it checked. It's color coded at the end, and I would always deal with English companies or Irish companies because you know what you have. I think there may be different paint and colors used in America, and you want to be careful with that on the continent. Right, so that's the story. Well, then, of course, there's cast iron, of which there are two types. There's the old traditional grey cast iron. It'll break. That's what they used to use for the down pipes and the outside soil pipes and railings and that. It's tough stuff, not the same as wrought iron. I have my hand on a piece of cast iron here. The lead body is actually made of cast iron. But it's it's put through a process which is called spherical graphite. The carbon in the cast iron is heat treated in a way that instead of the carbon forming flakes and being very brittle like the old grey cast iron, and you still can get it, you still can get materials made of it, but you'll know it's very brittle and it's very hard to drill. It's a strong material, but you can't heat treat it. It's already hard, and you can't soften it, and it's already hard. But when you have the spherical type, they call it malleable cast iron. And one of the places I see it, sorry, that noise. One of the places I see it is in the G clamps. If you buy Chinese G clamps for woodwork, they're malleable cast iron. Funny they use that, not steel, for that. And they're better off it. It's a very suitable material for that. Very strong, and you could throw it out in the gutter and it wouldn't rust. Cast iron is a great substance. So now we have all of them. Now, so for the workshop man, you have those ones. You have EN19, you have EN8, you have EN24. The EN24, I think, always comes annealed, so by right it should be heat treated. They often make digger bucket pins out of the soft version of it. It's still tough. It's still quite a tough steel. And EN19 would be very good for digger buckets too, coming as it is, tempered, hardened and tempered. It'll be very good too. Anyway, that's all those type of steels. Now, what brings me around to this is silver steel. Now, silver steel has nothing to do with silver. There's no comparison between silver steel and silver solder. There's no silver in silver steel. And in this part of the world, it's usually supplied by stubs. Now, it's a tool steel. It's a very high quality tool steel designed for the home workshop, for hardening and tempering it yourself. And I had one there and I just can't find it. I made a D-bit, and I often made specific reamers out of it. I don't just see it here at the moment, where you file off just 50% here, and you can make D-bits, and you can also make reamers. So if you're making a reamer, you'd use this stuff. Now, I didn't mention, and just before I want to go back to something, stainless steel. Stainless steel comes in two types. One, martinistic. The other, I think, is autonistic, but anyway, there's a 316, and there's different numbers for them. You can study them yourself. Now, stainless steel, I don't know, can it be hardened and tempered? And funny, I never actually tried it. If you wanted to see could it be hardened and tempered, you just grind off a little bit and leave a little bit of it stuck and turn it over. Just grind off a wee disc and leave it sticking out. Heat it till it's mad red hot, till a magnet won't stick to it, and dunk it in the water, and it'll be hard. Now, but stainless steel is useful because it is stainless, of course. And generally speaking, if you get it, you're getting it hardened and treated and all. You can probably treat it yourself, but you wouldn't normally do it. I don't know what effect the heat has on it, but stainless steel is virtually indestructible. There's two types. there's the type, the knives and forks you eat with are made of a martinistic steel. That's has carbon in it, and it can be hardened and tempered. But there's other types of it which can't. It's already tough. So it's a very unique stuff. I wouldn't use it except where I have good reason. I don't go to it, and you can't put any finish on it either. It keeps its original finish, and you wouldn't use it. It is expensive. It's expensive enough, very expensive to get. But anyway, that's all right. But anyway, this silver steel here is not silver. It's a tool steel, and it's usually supplied by Stubbs, and Stubbs supply it annealed. Now, in its square section or rectangular section, it's called gauge plate or ground flat stock. Gauge plate or ground flat stock. And it would be used, it's ground and all, and it can be very accurate. It would also, a piece would make a very good miniature laid bed, something I wouldn't mind making a small one. It's very good. It comes soft, but I'd say you might be able to get it maybe with particular mechanical properties, or even hardened and tempered of a specialist supplier. Now, that's gauge plate. It's used in the knives of hay balers, something where they need to be kept sharp. So anyway, that's it. But for working on the workshop, you have your silver steel. So you make up your part, whatever it might be. Might be a tap like this, like that there, and then you harden and temper it, or whatever you might be making. Lots and lots of things. And in this particular case this evening, I want to reduce the diameter of this and put it in as a little plunger. It's a little spring plunger that works where there's a part goes round, and it's meant to stop it. You know, it's meant to go like this. There's a wee indent here, and as this goes round, this sticks in it, and it gives it a bit of resistance, so you can keep it at that one spot and then push it on round. A little ball bearing would do the same. So I want to machine that down. But I come across a problem before, and I come across it again. You think you're right with this stuff. This is supplied by Caulfield's in Galway. And I've written to them and all. I wouldn't do anyone down like that without writing to them. This is not silver steel. This is not proper silver steel. Now, Caulfield, some of their bigger stuff is supplied by Stubbs. It's on the bottom of it here. It's in 13-inch lengths. Some of it's supplied by Stubbs, and when it's supplied by Stubbs, you can machine it the very best, harden and temper it, or do what you wish. No problem. Well, this stuff will not behave like tool steel. In fact, I'm inclined to think that this is high-speed steel. It's bad quality. Whoever made this doesn't know how to make silver steel. If you look at it there, you see the roughness. That's horrible. I mean, I just can't machine it. It couldn't be drilled. So this is meant to be used in the workshop, and it's behaving more like as if it was this material. It's not proper quality. I wrote to Caulfields, they never bothered answering me. And that's the trouble with Irish companies. They won't bother you, won't bother replying to you. And I wanted what do you call it? An oxygen regulator from one of my oxygen cylinder. And I wanted a side, going in at the side, because the Hobbywell one goes in at the side. And I rang and all and made sure they had it, and they said they had it. I bought it, and when it came out, it was a top mounted. And they told me, it'll do you good enough, shove it in, it'll do. That's the attitude you get. Now, that was not Caulfield. That was a Dublin company supplying gauges. And I wrote to them and all, and they just ignored me. And in the case of Caulfields, I've written and contacted them about this steel, and they should look at this. They're selling this as silver steel in the small diameters, and it is not silver steel. It is not silver steel. This must be made for brazing onto something, or for special plungers or something, where you'd run it into a very neat fit. But it's not silver steel. It's not tool steel. Now, the bigger diameter, when you go over about 3/8 inch, it is Stubbs, and Stubbs is on the bottom. Stubbs is made in Sheffield, and it's real good steel. So from now on, that means I cannot buy my silver steel in Ireland, and I tried to buy my silver steel in Ireland. I can't, particularly in the Republic. because this is the stuff you get, and no sympathy. No such thing as getting back and saying, what is your problem there? We're not sure, I'll tell you what it is, folks, that steel is not right. Where are you getting it? Oh, we're getting it from China. Well, it's not good enough. It's perfectly accurate and well done. If you needed this stuff for something where you needed a slide or a depth gauge or something, it's perfect. But it's not suitable for machining, not suitable for cutting on a lathe. And so I'll have to know. Luckily, do you know what I had to resort to yesterday? And I'm going to have to go back to it today because I need a bit of good steel. Is a hay bob, this here. Now, this is a hay bob. Look, it's a spring steel. This is a type of tool steel. It has mechanical properties depending on its sulfur and magnesium contents that lend itself to springing. Now, one of the most admirable springs there are is the poppet valves on the top of an engine of a car or a tractor. They're going up and down like this. They do this once every 2 cycles of the engine, and they can do that for thousands of miles and hundreds of thousands of miles. I've never seen one broken. They must be the best quality steel there is. They must be, but you can't use them for what I want. In any event, this is what I have to do. I had to cut a piece off, and then I had to anneal it with the bottles, get it soft, and it'll soften because it's tool steel. And then I had to turn it down in the lathe, and then I had to harden and temper it again. Because it's spring steel, it can be hardened and tempered. This stuff can't. This stuff is a disaster. So I would call on Caulfields again, go and get your quality correct. There's no excuse for this. You're in to do a job, you want the right material, and that is not the right material. Not the right material at all. Right, folks, I'll let you go on that. Yeah, that's 2 bad experiences I had. One with a Dublin company supplying regulators for oxygen cylinders. Told me more or less it'll do you good enough. After them telling me they had it, and after me ringing them and telling me we have what you want here, and they never giving me money back. 34 euros, I think 39 euros. They wouldn't give me my money back and refused to correspond with me. And I can't. I just don't want to give their name here. I might again. And I have a regulator which I think may have come from them as well, and there's no spring in it. It's faulty. But they don't seem to want to know. If it's not on the computer, you take it or leave it. There's no such thing as trying to understand how these things work. They don't want to know. And to see a lad like me, that old fella coming in, what does he know? You see, well, we're the ones who have to make it. They'll not make it. So again, Caulfields, and I'm calling them out there, they're not like this, but they did not contact me. Your silver steel is not proper silver steel. There's no stubs written on that, but it had not been stubs. But this cannot be machined. Whereas this here, when this is, I have now put the bottles on this. Do you see the colour? I have heated this up to above its point, and it's still, when it's let cool slowly, it goes back to its original form. And that's the same as high-speed steel. It's a form of high-speed steel. And if I were to guess, I would say the Chinese don't know the difference. My father used to say Chinese women. I'd say they don't know the difference between tool steel, which is what this should be, and high-speed steel. And I'm not getting the mix right in the metal. And so if it's not right, it's a type of a hybrid high-speed steel. I said that's what that is, a hybrid high-speed steel. Whereas if this was made of the same thing, it'd break in the field. This is a spring. This is just a piece of agricultural equipment. But imagine I now haven't bought that, and here's the bit, having bought that and paid for it, believing I had a quality product, have to go back and using the tines of a hay bob. Okay, that's it. That's the way it is. No harm to let people know. Cursed nuisance. I've job all on today now, and I should be away. I should have it done, and I can't because I haven't the proper material. You see, this here could be ground. Maybe some people grind it, but it's still just sold, always silver steel is always sold for use of hobbyists, lathe people and all of that, and this will not do. So we'll see you back, folks. Thank you very much. Bye bye.